All right, all right. Good morning, friends. Welcome to the J Talk Morning Show once again. And yes, and my good friend Catherine, thank you for reminding me and reaching out to me. Hey, I am running a little bit behind here, so if you're on the live, you know that I'm running about 16 minutes behind getting started today. Had a crazy day yesterday, and even longer evening, and I was just so tired. I could not get myself motivated to move. But here we are now, and I'm excited to be with you today. And let's get this party started, right? So let's kill the music and let's go ahead and jump right into this. I was wondering what I was going to talk about today. And one of the coaching tools that I've always used, and I learned this actually when I got into um, um, actual, what's the word I'm looking for? As a certified coach, certifiably so. Always been coaching, but never really had a title for it. Didn't realize what I was doing was coaching. But as a certified coach, I learned this method. And I kind of used it in a way before I became certified, but I wasn't exactly as distinct and precise on it as I am now, and that I understand the value of this question about the history of your future. Tell me the history of your future. Okay. Tell me the history of your future. I put a question mark on that. Why not put a question mark on that? Tell me the history of your future. Anyway, that's just crazy. Okay. So let's get that popped up there. Let's take that question mark off of there. Okay. There we go. All right, here we go. Tell me the history of your future! Exclamation point. So as a coach, and this is something I wanted to share with you because I think really, one of the main purposes of a coach is not to keep you on wash, rinse, repeat, and recycle and come back. Come back obviously, but not for the same thing. We want to help you get to the point that you're trying to get to as quickly, as efficiently, as effectively as possible. It's not trying to stretch out. Say, hey, how do I drive a car? Okay, great. Sign up for my 90-day program, and I'm going to teach you how to drive a car. No, it's not like that. It's like, hey, how do I drive a car? Great. Here we go. We're going to ask you some questions. We're going to hop in. We're going to go. We're going to get you to the point you need to do where you can start driving on your own. And that's the main purpose of a true effective coach is let's help you hop in, teach you how to put the key in the ignition, to teach you how to back up, go forward, speedometer, tell you all the instruments panels, help you to identify those things. And then boom, drop me off at the curb. You're on your own, my friend. All right. But always there to help you when you decide, hey, now how do I drive a truck? How do I ride a motorcycle? How do I drive a tractor? How do I fly a plane? Okay. When you are advancing and you want to grow, getting a coach is always a great thing to do. In fact, I think it's one of the most personally responsible things you can do is get a coach and help you with your next levels. So, but tell me the history of your future. So, real quick before we get started, Java check right here. I'm holding this like this. It's kind of weird. I've got a wrist issue happening and I don't know what's going on. So, I'll be getting that checked out soon. But Java check. All right, Java with J. We got good morning, Catherine. Thank you so much for that message. Also this morning, yes, and it's good to know you're watching. So the history, the history of your future is something you can use, and if you're helping and supporting people, also like Catherine, I know you do with what you do. Excuse me. These are things you can do. Ask questions. Don't give answers. Ask questions. Don't give answers. Now, the history of your future is kind of a scenario where you're doing some role playing, if you will. Okay. So here's how it works. And I wish, and maybe sometime I'll do this. I wish I had somebody else that I could play with right now on this, and I could ask you the questions. And what it does is it places you into the future. You say you want to be successful when, right? Say you want to be successful in 20 years. Okay. Well, we find out, well, what does that 20 years look like? At the end of that, what do you consider to be successful? Is it a bigger business, a greater business, expansion? Is it children in your family, a life? Is it a big house, a home, a car? I mean, what are the things you want to achieve? Is it an education? Is it a degree? What is it that you want to achieve? Is it building better relationships? Is it putting a band together? And doing shows, big shows, really big shows. What is it exactly you want to achieve? That's where we start off. What is the end result? And what does that look like to you if it was at its peak, at its greatest point, the success that you want to achieve, right? Great. Now we say, you're there. Here's where the history of your future comes in. You are there now. You are role playing. And what happens is I come into the story and I say, hey, and Catherine, since you're watching, I'm just going to use you as an example. I say, hey, Catherine, how you doing? I haven't seen you in 10 years. What's going on with you, girl? And you tell me a little bit about all of your success. What is going on in your world right now? We do that already today when we meet people. Hey, they say, what are you doing? What's you up to? And they say, well, I'm doing this, this, and this. Really? Okay. So here's the thing. You want to get to a certain point. You want to be successful. Let's say you want to be a writer. You want to be an author. You want to be on a circuit where you're autographing books and speaking about your subject. And I'm using that because, Catherine, I think if I recall, I think you're wanting to do that. You're working on a book. And so I'm going to use you as an example if that's okay. And if it's not, please comment. Okay. Say, no, don't use me as an example. Okay. So what I would do is you would tell me the story as if you are in the present. In other words, we're catapulting into the future, 10 years. And we run into each other downtown somewhere. You say, Catherine, how you doing? It's so great to see you. What's going on? What's new in your world? What's happened to you since the last time we spoke? 10 years. Let's say that. And you're going to tell me, well, I've written 5 books. I just got back from a speaking engagement on one of my books. I have a television show that I'm hosting. I have a podcast that I present every day. I interview people. I live in a great house, great car, great family. Got the big cement pond in the back. Beverly Hillbillies fans, if you're fans of Beverly Hillbillies, you know what that term means, okay? You got the cement pond in the back. Life's going great. My next question is, wow, what did you do to get there? How did you make that happen? And that's where the process starts coming into play. If you ever heard of reverse planning, it's like when you travel, you know where you want to go, right? But you got to get there. So what are you doing to get there? And you say, reverse planning. You say, okay, I've got to do this. I've got to set my GPS. I've got to do my, and this works in short-term future plans too. If you're planning a vacation, what do you got to do? Really? So you had a successful vacation. What did you do to get there? It's all part of the process, the planning of getting you to the point you want to get to fulfill and realize your aspirations, your dreams, your goals. What do you want to achieve? So when you have a clear picture of what you want, it's got to be clear, absolute clarity. Early on in one of my very first talks, actually, on the J Talk Morning Show, I talked about the process of clarity, the importance of it, and a clarity of vision, I think was the name of it. Or clarity of purpose, and vision is part of that purpose, right? So when you have a clarity of that, you can see it in your mind's eye. You know it. You're going to want to write that stuff down. You got to write it down. If it's not on paper, it's not on purpose, right? It was Dave Ramsey, I think I heard say that. If it's not on paper, it's not on purpose. It's not going to happen. Okay, it's got to come from here out here. You got to get it out of in here to out here. You got to write it down. You got to make sure now and then it becomes reality. Okay, put it on paper. Like this piece of paper here was a reality check for something I attended yesterday, actually. and everything that had to go to happen to make that successful. And that was an experience, quite an experience. It was a great experience. It was a learning experience too. Um, and that's what we do. So if you're so I would ask you, okay, great. So you got this big beautiful house. How did you get that big beautiful house? Well, you would tell me the things you did that you could afford it, that made some connections, and connections matters. Remember, I talk about proximity matters, proximity to people. That's your connectors to the things you want to achieve in life. So, who did you make a connection with? Who was the person you met that turned you on to a great realtor? You know, to help you get this. Um, and what was your first book about? Well, really, and that kind of catapulted you into your future, right? Into the next book, and that was your foundation for your talking points on your interviews, on your podcast interviews, your television spots, interviews. These things that brought in the revenue that people started buying from you. They started buying from you, and you say, "Well, I've also been doing workshops. I created workshops from the books, and so now I'm doing workshops and training based on my life experiences and what I wrote." Now, this is one. This is now. If you're coming in midstream, okay, you may not understand what I'm doing. I'm talking about the history of your future. So this is an example that I've kind of just laid on Catherine as if this was her dream, and we met 10 years from now, and a conversation we're having is really you're successful. That's fantastic. How did you get here? And that's when you start going back. You say, I did it by doing this, and I did this by doing this, and I got here by doing this. And so it takes you back to when you say, okay, great, all the way back to the present day. You just identified one of the first steps in the process to get you to that future dream. When are you going to do that? Who do you need to know? Who do you need to connect with? Who can help you with that? What resources do you need to do that? You see, we all have goals and dreams and aspirations for the future. We want to develop something, whether it's a better relationship, whether it's a better business, uh, greater income, fulfilling a dream. Maybe it's a dream to be a musician, an entertainer. Maybe it's to be an author. Maybe it's to get that college degree. These are things that you see in the future for your life, and you want that for your life. But what are you doing to get there? What are you doing to get there? And that's where the history of your future in the role play scenario. Now, this takes a little bit. Okay. It takes longer than this few moments, this 13, 14 minutes that we've been online with so far. It takes long. It's a process because there's a lot of self-awareness that has to come into play, and it's pulling that from you. See, I can't give you the answers. I will ask you lots of questions. And it's through those questions that the answers start to surface within you. Some of the answers are in you, but they're down deep. And the questions, you got to have the right questions to get to that answer. If you got to dig deep for something, you got to determine the type of question. And I'm going to refer to like digging apparatuses, right? So are you going to need to have a little small entrenching tool, maybe even a spoon, to an entrenching tool, to a shovel, to a backhoe? How deep do we need to get? Well, the backhoe is the first thing. We're going to get through that. Then we're going to get closer. And the more closer we get, the more detailed the questions. And it's going to get you to that point of bringing what you want that's down deep up to the surface so that you can now have a greater clarity and awareness of what it is you're trying to achieve and get there. And that's the beauty of this process of telling me the history of your future. Now, you can use this when you understand this with other people that you are in connection with and that you influence and impact. By asking them these questions. They have a dream, they have a goal. In fact, you will have someone in your life today that will share, when I do this is when I retire, When I retire, this is what I want to do. Okay, fantastic. Let's pretend that you're there now. How did you get there? That's the process to get you there. Okay. And then you say, what's the first process? Okay, you got back over here. When are you going to do this? When would now be a great time to invest in that dream? Some people think they have to have the whole dream immediately right now. You got to build up to that. You got to do the right things. You want the dream, you got to build it. And tenacity, consistency, persistency, all those things, you got to stick with it. Failure, mistakes. I learned some things yesterday. I made some mistakes yesterday, and invaluable lessons I've learned yesterday from yesterday's event that I made mistakes on. But you move on, you go on, you adapt, and you move on from there, and you make things happen. You do things, you make things happen, you adjust as you go. There's no ship in the world ever got anywhere by sitting in the bay. Okay, you got to pull the anchor, you got to get out there, and you got to set your sails. But you're never going to get to where you want to get to if you just stay anchored in the harbor. You got to move on out, and then you got to adjust. Anybody that's ever been on the seas or even in the air, you could set a direct path, straight line. But the laws of nature are going to shift you. They're going to shift you. Left, right, up, and down. They're going to shift you. So you got to constantly be course correcting. It's the same with your life. You've got to be constantly correcting your course, keeping yourself in check. Okay, my friends? That's what I got for you this morning. I hope I was able to add some value to you today. Tell me the history of your future. Let's find out what you are wanting to do in your future, and let's have a conversation. And you know what? Let's talk about that. Let's talk about how we can get you there and what your first step will be in part of the process, and then we can go from there. And that's what coaching is like really cool about. It's getting you started and get you motivated and inspired and help you paint that picture. Okay, my friends. So that's what I got for you today. Thank you for being on this morning. Like and share if you learned something from the day. If you grew from today. And if you have any other questions, please comment below or shoot me a private message, and I will answer and respond as I can. But I would definitely get back to you. May not be immediately, but I would definitely get back to you. So thank you so very much. And as always, if you have questions, always just follow the ticker there. You got email, website, and phone number, and I will be here to support you and help you experience your greatest future yet. So, all right. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to log on off here now, and have a great day. Don't forget, get up, get out, get at it. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.